Hello everyone, I'm Mark and I'm from Tabletopia. Welcome to Virtual Gaming Con 2020. So we're here now, we're all ready to play some games, but if you've never used Tabletopia before, don't worry about it. I'm going to run you through everything, give you a brief introduction on how to use the platform, how to set up a game, how to invite people, and just how to maneuver in the digital space. Now it looks like the stream is working and people can hear me, so let's get into this. So the first thing to know is that Tabletopia is, this website you're looking at here, is a digital sandbox. So that means there's no automation. You manipulate the pieces, and it's like you're sitting across the table from someone else, but, digitally in a virtual space. But what that means is that you can play the game as you want. You can also play it completely incorrectly. So you need to know the rules beforehand when you're playing a game. But on each of the game pages, as you'll see, all the rules are already included. There's a lot of ways to access Tabletopia. You can access it from your web browser, like we've got right here. I'm just in Firefox. You can also do Chrome, Safari, whatever suits you. You can also download the free Steam application, and you can also use your iOS device or your Android device. Now, these have a limited selection of games that are publisher dependent, but regardless, there's many different ways to use Tabletopia. And Tabletopia is completely free, barring some of our premium games. So you've got a wide range of things to pick from. A lot of our premium games are, really high quality games that publishers have taken the time to offer to us and build. And they're a really nice and really, slick experience. So let's get started. So first up, you'll just go to tabletopia.com. You'll go to the link up here, which is the sign up button. And now if you can just enter an email and password, or you can sign up with Facebook, Twitter, or link your Steam account if you've created an account already through Steam. Oh, and by the way, feel free to join me in the chat. Feel free to join me in the Discord, and I'll be answering any questions that you have for me. Now, I already have an account, so I'm just going to go log in, and I log in through Facebook. And that should let me in. Here we are. So, this is Tabletopia, what it looks like on the signed in end. There are a couple ways you can find games. So you can click the All Games button up here. This will let you browse our entire collection. So we've got a lot of games up for grabs, like Role Player is a really fun one. Tales from the Loop, which was just on Kickstarter, really fun role-playing game, based on the artwork of the artwork in the Amazon TV series as well. Raiders of the North Sea, Orleans, all your classics, Tapestry, Scythe, Santorini, and this is a nicer way to find things. But if you want to filter things a bit nicer, you can also just click this tab up here, which will show you all the different categories that you could be viewing, and these will let you pick by what you want. So maybe you want solo games. These are games that have a solo mode. And morning, Matt. I just saw your Facebook comment. Good to see you here. It is. If you are joining us in the US, by the way, it is midnight for you. So I understand. I'll be doing streams later in the week to get people acquainted at a more reasonable time. Now, you can also go to the Find and Play section up here. This will let you see games that people are publicly hosting and are looking for players in. So right now it looks like people are looking for players in Subterra, Trust Me I'm a Doctor, Secret Hitler. You can also click the Play Later. These are for games that people don't want to necessarily play now, that they've scheduled for a time. So you can see this one's scheduled for Friday at 1 a.m. This one's scheduled for Saturday at 7 a.m. So all the times are localized and all the times are in your local time. That'll give you a sense of when you can play them. And you can also just play games for, you can play games one turn at a time in your own pace, or you can play games right now. But let's say you want to host a game. Today I'm going to show things off to you with Wingspan, which I think is a really nice way of showing off the platform and how things go. So we're going to go into Wingspan here. Now, as you can see, this is the game page where we have all the different different game settings and options. On Tabletopia, we have a thing called setups down the bottom here. So the setups are the different iterations of how the game could look. So in this case, we've got the 1-player through 5-player setups. These are all the available ways that we can have the game ready and prepped to go when we get into them. As you can see here, we've got the rules for the games, the rules, the quick reference guide, the Automa rules if you're playing solo. Read more about the game. You've got the BGG link here. We've also got the different links of how you can access the game, read more about it, and we typically try and include a how-to play video here on the side as well. So today we're going to... Oh, yes. Of course, you have 3 options when it comes to starting a game. You can play solo if it's available for that game. You can do hot seat. Now, what hot seat does is allow you to actually play with someone in the same room. So if you're playing with someone who's sitting next to you, it allows you to take turns just by using the same computer and the same keyboard or mouse, and you can actually just take turns passing the controls to one another. Or you can play online, which is the mode that we're going to do today. And playing online is the most typical way you'll do it. So we'll just click that, and we're going to generate a new room. Now, note that Wingspan is a premium game. This means that typically you will have to have a premium account to play Wingspan. For all of Virtual Gaming Con, we've turned off premium as a restricted feature, and everyone will get to play it. So if you wanted the chance to play some premium games on Tabletopia and see if that's for you, now is the best time to do it. So now we're in the setup here. We've started an online game. If you click this drop down, you can select the type of setup you're doing. Because I'm the only player, it assumed I wanted a solo game. Let's say it was a 4-player game. I now have vacant seats that other players can see. If I were to simply take the link of this room and share that to a friend, they would then be able to hop in, and they would see this room and they'd be logged in with their Tabletopia account, or they'd be prompted to create a guest account. They could then take a seat, and when they take a seat, they'll be joining the game and there'll be another player who's participating. I'll just switch to 1 player for now, so it doesn't look too confusing having a bunch of vacant seats. Now, the other way you can share the room is you can actually copy this little 6-digit code here. And let's say I'm just anywhere on Tabletopia. I can take that 6-digit code, paste it into the search box, and there's my room right there. So it's a very easy way to share it with people. And if I were to click into that, it would bump me right back to the room. So were you sharing that with another player? That's a very easy way they can access it, and that's a very easy way they can join in the game and take a seat with you. Now, if you were to click visible to other players, that would put this game into the find and play section that I showed you before. And that's a way that you can get, random people to join in the game, and which is always a nice way to meet people. And we do have chat features in Tabletopia. Our official recommendation is Discord as a nice way of handling chat and being able to talk to people, and it's a nice way of communicating, and I think it makes it more personal, and it makes it feel more connected when you're sitting across from the table with someone. Now, Killjoy83 just asked, when does the premium go into effect? I think we're gradually rolling it out as quickly as we can, but the way we're doing it on the back end is having to manually turn every game from premium to not premium. So bear with us while we roll that out. Okay, well, let's start a game. And of course, schedule the game for later is if you want to nominate a time in the find and play section for later. So let's start the game. And we're just going to click that. If there were other players in here, the game would also ask me for their confirmation that they're ready to play. Okay. So we're just going to let that load. Yes, we are seeing a bunch of people asking about the premium, but yeah, bear with us. it is going to kick in. We're just having to manually turn every game into premium. Now, when you're in this loading screen, it will take a few seconds to load for the first time. That's just because it's downloading the game and making sure that it's all buffered on your computer. But after that loads, everything will be sweet. So, I'm just going to wait for it to kick in here, and I'm going to have a quick sip of water. This is the digital play space. So, welcome in. Now, the very basic thing you want to do is be able to manipulate the camera. So you've got your mouse here. You can scroll in and out with the mouse wheel. You can click and drag anywhere to manipulate the camera. You can also right click to manipulate the angle of the camera. And that's a nice way to sort of rotate around. I'm holding the right mouse button as we do this. Rotate up and down. And it's a good way to sort of see the area and maybe possibly get around. And great. So now we're in the space. There's a few things you want to take note of. This is your avatar down here. It's your player character. It's your player color, excuse me. So I'm red for this game, and you'll see there's a red border around my board here. That is a feature that's specific to Wingspan, but a lot of other games do use that to nominate where your cards are or where your board is on the game. So we've got the volume here if you don't want to hear all the clicks and drags. We've got this question mark here, which will take you to our list of all the controls. Now, I'm not going to take you through every control today. I'm just going to show you some of the basics that will give you a bit of a feel for how to use Tabletopia. But you can always click this to refer to things if you need to later. And we've also got here the rules for Wingspan. So at any time while you're playing, you can refer to the rules. It's a nice way to just quickly refresh if you need to check something, if you need to make sure that things are what they want to be, and that you're not cheating. So let's say we are playing Wingspan. This game is already set up for one player, so you'll see here that it comes with my goal card, my personal goal card, and my stack of bird cards. Oh, yes, the Virtual Gaming Con logo is covering that, so I'm just going to actually shift that up. Excuse me. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, we have the question mark here, which is the help summary, and we have the little piece of paper here, which is the rules. Thank you for catching that. I really appreciate it. Now, you'll see here that it's set up as if I were to play a solo game. One thing that's important on Tabletopia, and especially when you're playing multiplayer games, is you want to hide information from players. Tabletopia actually allows you to drag things into your hand. Now, I was silly, and the hand feature is actually disabled on the solo game. But I think it's important that you do see it. So I'm just going to start up another game so that you can see that. Bear with me for 1 second. But in the meantime, I will show off a couple of other things that let you manipulate the space. I'm just going to start a 3-player game. In the meantime, while we're in here. So you can grab cards. You can double click on them to make them bigger. That allows you to see things a lot clearer. You can also do spacebar while you're doing mouse over on something, and that will allow you to see something a bit closer and in a way that you can actually use. You also notice that these cards started with their backs to us. I pressed the F button to flip them. Now, I had multiple things selected there, so I'll just select one thing and I'll flip that. And that's useful in games where you need to flip things, need to have hidden information, need to tuck cards, for example. Yeah. So if I were to play Wingspan, what I'd be doing now is I'd select one of my goal cards. I will discard one of these. On Tabletopia, you'll see these bags that sometimes appear. A lot of games will use them to either randomize objects that you can pull from the bag, or in Wingspan's case, it's actually a nice discard pile. So we're just going to drag and drop it into there. And now it's hidden from the game, and this will be my secret gold card for the game. You also notice that this is actually a stack of cards. You see that when I hover over it, it's got the little 4 symbol. There's actually 4 cards in this stack. So I'm just going to take them all out. Now, were I playing a multiplayer game, let that still load. I think we've got a lot of people coming in for our Virtual Gaming Con, so let's see here. Yes, people are definitely getting excited for Virtual Gaming Con. You can see all the cards here that I've taken. Now, within the rules of Wingspan, for every card I keep, I would discard a resource. So I'm actually going to just... What I'm doing now, by the way, I'm selecting multiple cards by holding my Shift key and dragging a box around them. So that's one way you can select multiple objects. You can also hold Shift and click multiple objects to select or deselect them. And now they all manipulate and move as one. So I'm actually just going to take them, flip them over, and pop them in the discard pile. Because I don't need them now. And I've kept this one card here. What have I kept? I've kept the American Avocet. And as you can see, I pressed the space button to hold on to that one. Which means I'm going to discard the cherry. Let's say I don't want the cherry. Now, you could use this discard pile, but you could also just put it back in the stack here. Now, one thing I do need to show you actually is stacks and decks. So I'm just going to take a bunch of these off here. One thing that's very useful in Tabletopia is a deck or a stack. You'll notice how these are piled up. If something is piled up on Tabletopia, you can actually add to that or contribute to it by dragging something, mouse over, and wait until the orange glow appears. You'll see that there's no orange glow appears. That'll actually drop it onto the stack. And so that's a nice way that we can, and you can also do it with multiple objects as well. So I'll select both, holding down Shift, drag, wait for the orange glow, there it is. And now we have both of those tokens back on the stack. So let's say I was to play Wingspan. The first thing I'd want to do is roll my bird feeder. So you'll see we've got a bunch of dice here. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to press the R key to roll the dice. And now we have our bird feeder. And I guess the first thing I would do in this game is, well, I would probably want to play a bird. So I play this guy out into the wetlands, and I pay 1, 2, and in Wingspan, 2 resources can become 1, and I'll pop them back here into the pile. So, I mean, that's a very simple turn. And let's say I had purchased something from the market. I could just take that, and I could grab a new one from the stack. I pop it down. Now in Wingspan, it's automatically set so that when something gets put into one of these highlighted slots, it'll flip over automatically. Some games may not flip over automatically. You can just hit the F button, and that's the way you can do things. Now, I want to say this. If all of these controls I'm throwing at you, these shortcuts, these press F, press R, is just a lot, I get that. You can right-click on any object, and it'll bring up a little menu that shows you the different options you have. So I can actually just right-click it and flip it. Or with the dice, I can right-click it and roll it. So in that way, if you ever forget what you're trying to do on Tabletopia, don't get too stressed. You can just right-click on something, and you can do the action as needed without having to mess around with the shortcut. Now, what else have we got here? Oh yes, some games will require you to rotate objects, in which case you can hold down the control key once you've grabbed an object, and you can rotate it. Not in the solo mode apparently, but that's okay. I should have tested this beforehand. So yeah, if you do need to rotate an object, you can also, you can hold down the control button and you can drag it with the mouse to rotate it as needed, or you can press the Q and E buttons to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm just going to go back into here. Here's the multiplayer Wingspan that I've got up. And what I wanted to show you is actually the hand feature. So let's say I had a bunch of cards that I didn't want my opponents to see. I would take that, drag it to the bottom of my screen, and you'll see now that it's glowing here. When it's glowing, it actually gets added to my hand, and no other players can see this right now. I can manipulate it, I can bring it up full screen if I want to see it. It's a nice way that I can actually look at the cards and play with them, but not have any other players see them. And you can flip things in here. So let's say I actually needed to flip this and then play it out face down. That's a nice way that I can play the cards without anyone seeing. And then I can just flip it to reveal it. Depending on the game you're playing with, that is one way you can handle things there. And so the hand feature is very nice because even if you have a stack, you can... Oh, sorry, I'll just put this back into its stack. I can grab the cards here, pop them in. I can hold shift, select the entire stack, and the entire stack goes into there. Now, in Wingspan, also, you may be drawing cards secretly from the top of the deck. I believe you can draw blind in Wingspan from memory. So if you don't want players to see it, you can just drag it immediately into your hand. Or, if you need to draw multiple, rather than the take function, which will put them physically on the board, you can do right-click and draw, which will immediately put them into my hand. And the hand feature is very useful as a way of controlling what other people on the board can see. Now, I'm just going to double check. Have I missed anything fundamental? If you have any questions, by the way, please shoot them to me. I want to make sure you're comfortable using the system. Now I'm going to actually talk about the preset camera angles. This is something that is nice to handle. By the way, if this hand is in the way, you can just press the H button to hide your hand temporarily. H to bring it back. Now, yes, so in Wingspan, there are multiple points you want to look at. So say I want to look at the market, but then I also want to look at my player board. Well, it can be useful to actually set camera controls which allow you to jump to these particular places. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up this camera position I want to look at frequently, right? I'm going to hold the shift key and press 1, and now I've saved this camera angle. So if I move away from it, if I just go anywhere else, mess up my orientation, zoom in really tight here, I've messed it up. If I just press the 1, it'll take me right back to that camera angle. So it's a nice way of recalling camera angles that you want to use frequently. And then you can actually do this up to 9 times. So let's say I want to also be able to see the market frequently. I'll press Shift 2, and now I've saved my second camera angle. So if I press 1, we're back to my player board. If I press 2, we're back to the market. You can do this up to the number 9. And it's a really nice way of just having quick recall functions that allow you to move around the space a lot nicer. You can also press the 0 button to have a top-down overview of the entire game. Now, Odd Audio asked, is that mobile version an app or a mobile version of the web page? So what the app versions are adapted specifically for the platform. So it's not just a web page version of this. It's actually a specific version retooled for mobile. So unfortunately, you can't play every game, and that's because the developers need to spend time, actually making it for every game. Killjoy83 asks, what are the common ways to handle mistakes? Let's say I accidentally reveal a card that was supposed to be hidden. Are there normal things around how players handle that? And I guess it's sort of, there's benefits and there's disadvantages to the lack of automation and the fact that you control everything. So I think it's nice that you can control this like you're physically there in a real table space. And if you, say, accidentally reveal the card, say I dropped this on and it was meant to be face down, there's unfortunately nothing you can do to remove that from players' memory. But I mean, you can quickly drag it back to your hand and, deal with it how you would deal with it normally at the table. So in a way, it's sort of self-governed, and I think that's the beauty of a free-form platform like Tabletopia, is that you actually get the opportunity to play it as close to the real thing as possible. No computer guiding you, no... you have to own your mistakes like you would in real life. So I guess the answer is resolve it how you would with the other players. A couple of other things. You've got the chat feature down here, so I could say hi to everyone, which is just me that I'm saying hi to. But I can hide that as well. And that's essentially it. I don't think there's too much else that you need to know to get started on Tabletopia, to be honest. You've got up here the top left, we've got a menu. These are all the different features. You can pause, you can close the room, so you can finish it off. You can go back to the lobby if you need to look at players. And actually, one thing I do need to point out, you'll see this little icon in the top left here. This is actually, I'll just make sure the stream's not cutting it off. Yeah, the stream is cutting it off. Give me 1 second. Move, logo. I'll just shrink you down a little bit. Now, you'll see this little button here, which allows you to dictate the turn-based modes. So, by default, the game will be free-for-all, which just means people can manipulate the space as they want. Let's say you've done one of those scheduled games where people take turns at their own pace. You can actually set the turns so that people can have it pop up like that when it's their turn. And at the end of their turn, they can just pass it off to the next player. So you can just... now, I can't show it off here, but... Yes, if I had other players, I would be able to show that off to you. But it allows you to sort of make sure that it's more regimented about whose turn it is, which is a nice feature if that is important to you and you're not playing live. But by default, it will be free for all. That's really all you need to know to get started on Tabletopia. If you have any questions, we are out of time. Please hit me up in the Virtual Gaming Con Tabletopia text channel. We're going to be here the whole con. I'm going to be running some other games. So it's... that's it. Now you know all you need to get started on Tabletopia. There are a couple things, like, for example, in some games, you will have counters. These can just be scrolled up and down with your mouse wheel, or you can right-click and set them. If you need to keep track of anything, like points. I think that's it, though. Have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. And thank you for joining. And welcome to Virtual Gaming Con.